I'm going to talk about the what if pricing page, but I want to start here at the annual report page to show you how it runs together. I'm doing this presentation in October, and so if you think of the annual report page showing you how your farm is doing with your margins for this calendar year, you're going to see how the what if pricing page is going to start in October and go forward for a year. Unlike this page though, the annual report page does do a 24-week contract and contract net weighted. The what if pricing page is only going to deal with the futures-based contract. We are calculating the margins only on the futures months rather than a 24-week feed consumption. So starting in October going forward, when we go to the what if pricing page now, we see the exact same scenario where the contract is above the open and the contract net weighted, of course, is between the two. To make it easier to do what if pricing, we've broken this into quarters. So that when we make an adjustment in the future, we are doing it 3 months at a time. The first thing we're drawing is the contracted price for the next year. In this case, we have contracts in place for corn, soy, and hogs. We do not have any in place for January going forward. On the annual report page, we would take the contract average price and blend it with the open price to come up with a contract net weighted as we show in the graph. We're going to do the same thing here, but we're not going to limit the open to just 1 day's close. For example, here $3.14. I want to see what the effect of the market moving over time to my profitability. Let's take a look at what would happen if the open moved plus or minus by 1% and per quarter. We no longer have a contract net weighted as a line, but as a range. In this first quarter, we've almost got the usage 100% contracted, so there really isn't very much range left. But you can see in the second quarter, where we have 0 contracts in place, when we look at what the range could be, or between the open price plus or minus 1%, we get a range of possibilities for our margin. Because we don't have any contracts in place, this contracted margin line has dropped to 0. If the open stays for corn between 320 and 333, soy from 305 to 318, hogs 84 to 88, your margin is going to show up within this range. In quarter 2, we've added another 1% to the range, and so we get a wider band of range. In quarter 3, we've added another 1% difference. If we went in 3% increments, we see a much wider range. And if we go from 5%, we're going to see the range widen, but the graph is going to fool us a little bit because it's going to go from a $60,000 margin high to $100,000. So we really have still increased our width. Let's go back to 0. So that was playing with the net weighted range. We've also got here what's called a what if. Let's work in quarter 1, and let's work within the range 3%. And what happens if I place the contract today for 326 at 33% and do the same thing going through all the commodities? And click on what if. You'll notice that the what if has a narrower range because we've taken 33% or 1/3 of the uncertainty out of the equation. But we haven't done anything in 2015 quarter 2 yet, and so the what if is still the full range of open range. I'm going to make quarter 1 66% and quarter 2 33 to show you what that would look like. There. Now you see how the what if has narrowed 2015 quarter 1 because I've moved the what if to a 66 position. Now quarter 2 of 2015 has narrowed the range of variability, but still much wider than the 66% is what if of quarter 1. And of course, quarter 3 is still fully open. By clicking on the preset buttons here, you'll notice that I lost the contract net weighted margin zone because they were automatically put down to 0. This will help you create the what ifs that you need to do to see what makes sense on your farm. You can also watch what Cargill's recommendations are by clicking on the recommended. Right now they have recommendations for the end of 2014 and the first quarter of 2015. As they make recommendations, additional recommendations for 2015 quarter 1 and quarter 2 and so forth, this recommended range will continue.